For 2 years in a row now, we were so close to adding a new golem to Minecraft, but both times, well, to be honest, both times it got cooked. The golem that kicked off this trend was back in 2021, the Copper Golem. Admittedly, in hindsight, it was a really cool idea. Downgrading from that crusty boy in 2022, we had the Tough Golem, which was, well, I mean, it was tough. In just a few weeks' time, we're probably going to do it all again. Today, in honor of the sad future fate of the golem, we're going to take a look at a bunch of golems that would be absolutely amazing to see in Minecraft. Like, for example, the Enchanting Golem. Look at how cool this thing is. The Enchanting Golem. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're like doing something, like maybe like digging blocks and it gets a little bit dangerous, well then this golem would be the golem that you want to have around you. From just being in this golem's vicinity, we're going to be granted different random enchantment effects. Like, for example, strength, enchanted, regeneration. Unfortunately, there's no way to make the golem, like, lock onto you or follow you or anything, because that would be really, really fire. Alright, golem number 1. Thank you so much for your service. But now it's time for you to leave. Not gonna lie, legally I can't here. Golem number 2 is going to be one of my favorite golems we're going to take a look at in today's video. With a couple blocks placed just like that, all of a sudden, we basically have a living piston. So this golem right here is known as the Piston Golem, and watch what happens when something bad gets near it. The arms, they go like swinging like crazy, and then the mob, it's obviously like attacked. Now, as you can see there, it doesn't deal like too much damage. If I were to take out a mob with a netherite sword, it would definitely be like more efficient. But I mean, this thing is beautiful. Oh. Well, it was beautiful. So a little bit of a common theme that we'll see here throughout all of the golems today is, unlike the iron golem over there, all of these golems have a little bit less health, which means you're gonna need to, like, try a little harder to keep them safe and whatever. But not too big of a fan of redstone? Hey, I mean, couldn't be me, but I totally understand. Maybe it could be a little bit confusing. Instead, what if we placed a barrel down and then put a jack-o'-lantern on top of it and, oh, this one is Bonzo's specific favorite one over here. Yeah, I had to pull Bonzo out of the guide world for this. That thing right there, it's called the Barrel Golem. Now, just like with the Piston Golem that we checked out a second ago, the Barrel Golem is going to attack things, but watch how it attacks things. It's kind of hard to see, but basically, it's going to roll. The Barrel Golem literally doesn't roll over to the mobs, and it's a little bit more dangerous than the other ones. That roll right there, oh, is so beautiful. Every time, why does this happen? So the Barrel Golem, clearly, as you can see there, it can attack things, but also, if we interact with the Barrel Golem, we can actually store things inside of it. I go ahead and put things inside of the Barrel Golem, and then it will, like, wander around and do whatever. We'll go ahead and set this thing free, and then come back later and check on this guy. Golem number 4 today is called the Like Golem. And to summon this golem, all you need to do is go right down below this video and tap that like button. When you do that, it'll manifest itself into your life, and you just trust me, bro. When it manifests itself, you will get good luck for 10,000 years. So the barrel is definitely a workstation. Another workstation is going to be the composter. With a carved pumpkin on top of the composter, we get the Composter Golem. Now, unlike the other golems that we've checked out so far today, this is not a combat-related golem. If I place it down, it's not going to really care about any hostile mobs at all. Instead, what's going to happen here is something that's going to be a little bit more useful for farms. The Composter Golem, kind of like the composter block itself, it's all about bone meal. So unfortunately here, or I suppose fortunately, if you care about like balance and stuff like that, it doesn't seem like the Composter Golem bone meals very often. Like, it actually, in fact, seems pretty uncommon to happen, but I guarantee it, if this thing were to make it into a mob bone, I feel like this thing would clear the mob bone. I mean, imagine setting up a small, simple, basic crop farm, and you have a Composter Golem that'll walk around every once in a while and just like bone meal things. Please do the trick. This thing is maybe not doing itself favors for the next mob bone. Maybe not. Alright, so flashback rewind to the first golem that we took a look at. It was really, really cool. Very, very beautiful. This next golem is kind of related to it. We placed a bookshelf on the ground, just a plain old normal one, and then a carved pumpkin on top, and look at this thing. First off, the aesthetics here. Every single one of these golems, they're so clean looking. But specifically this one with that feather on top, it's like, I mean, like, gosh, not to go all history nerd on you or something, but like, it kind of looks like George Washington. Like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, it's giving. Wonderful. Now, even more cool with this little guy, just like the other golems that we have in vanilla Minecraft, is back to the combat related things. Check this out. It runs over, and then knowledge, basically. This thing will throw a little bit of knowledge at its target, and then start running. So I'll admit it, if you're a fan of the Golem and this is the next Golem option, well, you're gonna have to get used to losing another year in a row because in survival, it's really maybe not that great. If we have extra books around, we can walk over to this Golem and refill it, and then it'll be able to throw the books one more time. It does a little bit of like short range damage as well, but it's really not that good. Also, with the books, you have to be careful. If you're within range of the books, it'll hurt you as well. With this little guy right here, the huge double-edged sword. Maybe it's better to just take the golems out yourself. Well, maybe it's better to take the golems out yourself, or maybe it's better to go back to that first golem and combine it with this one. So if we go ahead and start with obsidian, carved pumpkin, something like that, we make an enchanted golem. Now, you know how it goes. Enchantments and books, they're like best friends here. All we need to do, basically, is wait for these golems to get close enough to each other, and eventually they'll stack. Check this out. Oh my. Alright, well, what's meant to happen is this golem should jump on top of that golem instead of mercilessly and violently take it out. What about if I just drop them right next to each other? Yeah, you know what? I think I created a terrible situation for these poor bookshelves. Just trust me, they can stack. Now, if you haven't realized by now at this point in today's video, we're not in 100% vanilla Minecraft. Shocking, right? To check out all of these wonderful, really cool golems that we'll be checking out today, and actually even more golems that we might not even have time for, we're using the wonderful Plenty of Golems mod. This mod was created by Alberto06 and Unknown, so big shout out. I like a lot of things about this mod. The quality is through the roof. The golem concepts, they're super cool. And for the most part, a lot of these golems kind of feel like vanilla too. I said for the most part, a lot of these golems feel like vanilla too. Here we have an Stone Golem. If we go ahead and walk up to it and click on it, all of a sudden, I have a unicycle. All of a sudden, I have a unicycle that is like hyper speed that I can literally like roll around throughout the world. This thing is so quick, like probably faster than your fastest horse. And I mean, it's a tank. It's unstoppable. The amount of health to check it. And also, if I get off of this thing, it will literally attack things and like basically speed ram these things too. And it's a literal unicycle. So cheap and easy to make too. To check out all of our potential Mavo 2023 losers here today, I did a couple things. I imported Boneso over from the guide world. I went ahead and made a small little camping setup, and of course I got to farming. And for all of the golems today, common theme, we need pumpkins. I mean, after all, that's how you make a golem, right? You would never make a golem by stacking 2 snow blocks up like that, and then putting a melon on top of it. And then after that, you would carve said melon. That wouldn't work. Surely. Alright, yeah, so for starters, I'll admit it, something weird is going on here. This is rather demonic looking in my opinion. We have soulless eyes and a gaping red, bloody side. Is that just melon or is it something else? I don't know. You be the judge. Anyways here, we go ahead and place 2 snow blocks and a carved melon on top of it. Then just like that, we get our brand new melon golem friend. The melon golem. It looks so happy to be here. Just like with the snow golem, the melon golem, it's all about snowballs and attack and range, except this time, instead of snowballs, it's spitting melon seeds. This thing is literally just like the snow golem we already know and love, except this time, a little bit more disturbed. The stone cutter, the block we all know and love. By far, one of the best additions of the Minecraft 1.14 update that dropped 10 years ago now or something. What if we say took the stone cutter and gave it another wonderful, beautiful use? So we're going to start out with a T shape just like that, almost like an iron golem. We put a carved pumpkin, and then finally we put a hat on this thing. Finally, we put a hat on this thing. I can't get over some of the recipes here today, but yeah, we put a hat on this thing, and all of a sudden, this thing is dangerous. You don't want to mess with this one. When it comes to combat, this thing is all about it. When it comes to health, this golem, because it's a little bit bigger, it's slightly more tanky. Also, when this thing is attacking things, as you can see there, it's kind of like dealing particle damage as well. I know Susan is gone and everything, and times are maybe a little bit different here over at YouTube HQ, but I don't know if I can say this out loud on here, so you just go ahead and read that one. Let me know what you think about it. As far as I'm concerned, of course, the Iron Golem holds the #1 spot inside of my heart, because of course I could farm this thing for so much iron, but like aesthetically, this guy is so much more cool. Look at that mohawk right there, a spinning blade mohawk with the arms. Yeah, that's some pretty insane stuff. A lot of the golems we've taken a look at so far today are up close and personal ones, not so many ranged ones. Using a block that I always forget about, the target block, we can make the hay golem. The hay golem, the aesthetics here are so good. Imagine a giant world record cookie farm or something with this thing jumping around inside of it. So imagine that vision, keep it in your head, but then suddenly a hostile mob appears. When it does appear and it gets close to this thing, it's gonna kind of like run away from it. I almost let it in, like this thing is gonna be a ranged mob, but instead, it's kind of like a a bait mob. It's a scarecrow. Like, check this out. Right here I have a husk, and even though I'm clear in the way, it doesn't care about me. Instead, the husk cares about this golem over there, the hay golem. Now you're gonna have to pair the hay golem with something else, maybe the beautiful mohawk stone cutter golem or something, because the hay golem does not attack at all. It's kind of just like a sad, jumping lure, terrified of everything in the world. Aww. But speaking of ranged golems, if we go ahead and place the bamboo down and bone meal a little bit, then put a stripped jungle log and then a carved pumpkin on top of it, now we get the real ranged mob. So over here, we put a husk. This bamboo golem right there is gonna see the husk and watch its nose. From this thing's nose, basically, it's gonna shoot little thorns, little spikes at mobs. These thorns, the spikes that this golem is shooting out of its nose, are actually pretty strong too. It's gonna take 3 or 4 shots from this thing, and then all of a sudden, the husk is gonna be gone. When mobs get a little bit closer to this thing, it's high-key, a little bit, like, helpless. It can't really defend itself. The noises, though, with this one. The noises is so good. Listen to this thing. Okay, of course, then it goes silent. So far today, we've checked out a ton of golems. At this point, we're almost all the way through the big list of golems that we'll be checking out. I got a big question for you, though. In the style of the golems that we've been checking out today, what new golem would you add to Minecraft inside of this year's mob vote? Would you make something new? Or would you just take one of the golems we're looking at today? By the way, the barrow golem that I stored stuff in way earlier on, I think it rolled off somewhere. I have no clue where it is. I was looking around trying to find it just now, and I can't find it. All I can find is a single bee. Speaking of the bee, we've got a couple golems that use bee-related things. First up, the candle golem. Look at this thing right there. This is another one of those golems that I could 100% see being inside of the mob boat. It's not too overpowered. You place the honey block on the ground with the carved pumpkin on top of it, and all of a sudden you've got a candle that walks around your world. Now this thing, you need to be careful with it. It doesn't really exactly know the ins and outs of combat. The candle golem will walk over to mobs and light them on fire, but when it touches the fire accidentally, it will set itself on fire as well. In theory, it's a really cool concept, but maybe like for defending your base, not so much. Instead here, if you're into combat, well then you're gonna want to build the most expensive golem to build out of all the ones we're taking a look at here today. You're gonna need honey blocks and a bee nest. Put a carved pumpkin on top of it, and the aesthetics go off the chart. This thing is so cool looking. Aesthetically, I think this one is my favorite golem out of all of them. If we had a hostile mob nearby, check this out. This golem's gonna look at it and basically spit honey. When this thing is hit with honey, it's gonna be way slower than it ever did before. Like, you know how when you stand on the honey block, you move a little bit slower? Well, yeah, imagine if you got coated in honey. Eventually, if this mob ever ends up getting close enough to the honey golem will also deal melee damage. It's really strong. Even better with the honey golem, it shoots these whole particles on the ground, but if you walk around inside of these particles, that'll eventually go away, by the way. It doesn't slow you down. Doesn't matter at all. The stack golem is a little bit of a funny one. So you take the stone slab, the OG one, you stack it up 4 times like that, place a carved pumpkin on top, and all of a sudden you got this walking stone tower. Check this out. It will walk over to something that it'll try and attack. Whew. Maybe don't put it in your creeper farm. Gladius, let's run that really quick. One more time for you here. We have a stack golem, just like that. We put it near something a little bit less explosive. It'll walk over to it and then split up into a bunch of smaller ones like that. After that, it'll basically like overwhelm the hostile mob. As far as I'm aware, once the stack golem is fully split up, it's fully split up. You now have basically 4 mini golems at your base. Getting real close to the end of potential 2023 losers, unfortunately, here today. Oh, we got another beautiful one. I saved some of the best ones for last year. This is the Blast Furnace Golem. It's a really strong one. If mobs get relatively close to this thing, basically, it will be able to set them on fire. If it wants to, I guess. If it wants to. Oh yeah, never mind. Took a minute, but definitely setting them on fire and taking them out too. This guy's really strong. In the world of other combat-related golems, we've got this smithing golem. The smithing golem is made with a little bit of deep slate, a smithing table. Put the carved pumpkin on top, and you've got an ominous-looking being right here. This boy throws me all the way back to one of those OG warden concepts. Now on its own, by default, even when there are bad mobs around, it's not really going to do anything. If we go ahead and go to the back of this thing and put a block inside of it, then all of a sudden I've upgraded it. With an iron block, it's going to be strong, but like, not the strongest in the world. If we go ahead and walk up to it with a pickaxe and right click, we get the block back. After that, we can go ahead and maybe upgrade it to a gold version. The gold version is going to be a little bit stronger. Or if we're ready to max things out, we can go ahead and take that gold block back and put a diamond block in there. With a diamond block inside of this golem, it'll come to life and be really strong. Also, with a diamond block inside of it, or really, to be honest, any of the other blocks, it looks like it's something from Minecraft Dungeons. If a golem like this were to make it into the mob mode, hands down, it's clearing. This thing is so cool looking, aesthetically amazing, and functionally really, really cool too. I really, really love how you could build this golem, put nothing inside of it, and it's just a giant, ominous statue. Like, it doesn't come to life quite yet. That's so cool. And you know what? While we're at it, why not? Speaking of golems that will clear the entire mob vote and validating the entire title, we have the nether golem right here. We make it with the red nether brick, always forget about that, and the normal nether brick. A little bit of blackstone in the mix as well, and all of a sudden you've got a tank, a titan. Look at this thing. So it's so cool looking. It's got a whole nether crown on it and everything like that, but if it can get close enough to another mob, the combat it comes out. Unfortunately, no way to make this thing follow you, because this would be like the best bodyguard in the entire world. I think this one, out of all of the golems that we take a look at today, it's got like the most damage that it'll deal. It can also shoot its fists sometimes too, and they'll explode. So clearly, there's a whole lot to this Plenty of Golems mod. In fact, way more than I can even show off here today. If you like the idea of sending me back to my modded showcase era, then all you gotta do is delete that like button on this video right now, and I could make a part 2 to this video, finishing it off and showing off all of the other golems. Some of them that kind of look like bosses. What I like to do here is wrap up with a golem that is literally straight out of a creepypasta. This thing is called the wool golem. We use a loom, we use a white wool block, and we use a carved pumpkin. And then we get something that looks like that. Now look at this. No! No, not my fences. No, they've turned on each other. Well, that's not exactly what I meant to show off here. Guys, calm down. Stop it. Alrighty, by straight out of a creepypasta, I mean this aesthetic here. Take a look at it. And then combat-wise, what it does is it throws a needle. It literally throws a needle at anything that it's targeting. But it can get even better, too. Considering the fact that this thing is made out of wool, guess what you can do? You can walk over to it with any dye, use the dye on it, and all of a sudden, it transforms basically into something else. Maybe a little bit nostalgic for last year's Mob Boat winner, the Tough Golem? We'll use some light gray dye on it. Now, all of the different aesthetic suits that you can put on this thing are absolutely amazing. It kind of like makes this one. The different dyes typically are going to correspond to different things inside of Minecraft. Different like mobs. It's basically like the Halloween golem or something like that. All of the different costumes, the outfits that this mob has, this is like the drippiest golem out of all of them. I love that this golem can basically transform itself into almost anything else inside of Minecraft. Now, when it changes its outfit, the attack, the combat, it doesn't change or anything like that. It's all just the aesthetics. Hands down, the Plenty of Golems mod is one of the coolest, cleanest mobs that I've seen in a while, and we didn't even see them all. If you like the looks of this mod and you want to check it out for yourself, great news, I got a link for you down in the description. And huge shout out to the creators of this mod. This thing is so fire. That's all I got for you today, lads. Smash like for more mods, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.